Tonight, Alberta's aggressive changes to gender policies for young people.
We want to make sure that they're making those choices as adults.
From schools to surgeries, sweeping changes and strong reaction in Alberta and beyond.
I'm deeply disturbed.
And at issue on the politics behind the policies. 10 years after the Bangladesh factory tragedy, CBC News returns to ask, were promises made, promises kept?
I am not happy.
You're not happy.
And another big streamer adds commercials for Canadians.
Like if I'm paying money, I don't see any ads at all.
Why those advertisements are here to stay, or you'll have to pay.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrienne Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. Danielle Smith is standing firm and defending her sweeping new policies focused mainly on transgender youth, while the response from Ottawa tonight is stark. The federal health minister says he's deeply disturbed that the plan will put children at risk. The justice minister accuses Alberta of playing politics, Alberta's premier firing that same accusation right back at her critics. Among her proposed rules, new age restrictions for teens to get gender-affirming surgery, hormone therapy, and puberty blockers. Prohibiting sex ed in schools without explicit opt-in from parents, and requiring schools to inform parents or get parental consent in the case of younger students before honoring a kid's name or pronoun changes. Erin Collins starts our coverage tonight with a look at how far the policies go, and the reaction isn't just coming from politicians, but from families directly affected.
Alberta's premier wading into uncharted political waters.
I support the journey of adults who want to transition to another gender.
But legally, that support in Alberta won't extend to minors looking to transition. Proposed laws would ban provincially funded gender-affirming surgeries for Albertans under 18 and require a parent, doctor, and psychologist to approve of underage teens looking to use hormones to transition.
We want to make sure that children do not prematurely make decisions that are going to be irreversible.
The legislation will have big impacts on schools, too. Kids under 15 looking to change pronouns will need their parents' permission. Parents of all minors will be informed of any pronoun change, making it the third province to introduce a pronoun policy after New Brunswick and Saskatchewan. Alberta parents will also need to opt their kids into sex ed classes. This mother of a transgender child supports the new laws.
I supported my child in every way that I knew how.
Her teen began taking hormone therapy without her consent at 16. We've agreed to conceal their identity to protect their child.
I think we just need to focus on erring on the side of caution, which I think that these policies do, without exclusion, without bigotry or transphobia, that they're two very different things.
A view not shared by Ottawa.
I'm deeply disturbed. The decision that was made by Alberta places kids at risk. We know that one of the number one reasons why kids take their life is problems around sexual identity.
This trans feminine lawyer agrees. They say Alberta vulnerable kids.
I was absolutely floored by just how much further it went than what we were expecting. This is an extremely cruel law that will harm immensely trans kids across the province.
The mother who supports the proposed law has complained to Alberta's College of Physicians about their child's treatment. Their teen, now 17, has moved out.
For the child that you've cared for so long, to say that they don't feel safe when you know that they are is heartbreaking.
The government in Alberta says it plans to table the controversial law in the fall. Opponents are already lining up to challenge it in court. Erin Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
Alberta's proposed ban on gender-affirming treatment for youth is getting a lot of attention, but healthcare providers told Tashana Reid it's already rare and the road to getting it already long.
17-year-old Seely Romard's transition has been a journey. Romard told his family he was trans after a suicide attempt.
Honestly, it's a very long process.
Since then, he's received gender-affirming care from doctors and has been on a wait list for testosterone for more than 2 years.
I've been waiting so long because we had to go through the mental health and make sure that I'm in an okay place to be ready for all of the changes that will happen to my body with testosterone.
Now, Alberta is proposing new restrictions to accessing gender-affirming care. Puberty blockers and hormone therapies will not be permitted for children aged 15 and under. Top and bottom surgeries will be banned for children 17 and under.
Supporting and standing.
But this doctor says the restrictions aren't necessary.
In my 8 years of practicing gender-affirming medicine, I've had 0 patients under the age of 18 receive a gender affirmation surgery.
We have
Dr. James Makokis says surgical options are extremely rare for anyone under 18, and no surgeon in Canada will do bottom surgery for a minor. He is worried about excessive barriers to gender-affirming care.
When young people are growing up in a body that does not reflect who they are, puts them at severe risk for self-harm, whether that's cutting, whether that's excessive drug or alcohol use or risky behaviors, and that further puts them at risk for suicide.
Clinics providing gender-affirming care say they follow the latest research, including guidelines developed by the Canadian Pediatric Society.
I'm really concerned that trying to go down this path is going to limit a lot of people's options where there's different needs that are needed as well.
The concern among some experts is that Alberta's proposed rules put treatments for transgender youth out of reach and puts them at risk. Tashana Reid, CBC News, Toronto.
Rosie and At Issue are going to dig into the story, including that sharp reaction on Parliament Hill. That's in just a few minutes. Now to an exclusive investigation that takes us back to Bangladesh, a decade after a garment factory collapsed, killing more than 1,100 people. Many of those workers were making clothes bound for Canada, some under the Joe Fresh label. The tragedy prompted promises of big changes by the Loblaw-owned company. The Fifth Estate's Mark Kelly was there after the tragedy and has since traveled back to find out if those promises made were promises kept.
Rana Plaza collapsed in just 90 seconds. 1,134 people died. 2,500 were injured. Loblaw promised fair wages and safer working conditions for the people who make their Joe Fresh clothes in Bangladesh.
Our priority is to do what's right for those affected by the tragedy.
This factory makes clothes for Joe Fresh, a Canadian company. Thank you.
But today, a look into safety inspection reports for the factories used by Loblaw tells a different story.
And these are the inspection reports, and you've had ongoing fire safety issues.
In the 21 factories used to make Joe Fresh clothes since 2019, we counted 176 documented safety violations. Then there's the issue of wages.
This is a garment workers' protest that is coming here to the site of the Rana Plaza disaster. They're demanding an increase in their minimum wage. Currently, the minimum wage in Bangladesh is lowest in the region of garment-making countries.
The government recently increased the minimum wage, paying the workers the equivalent of about 75 cents an hour. Lazina Akhtar makes pants for Joe Fresh 11 hours a day, 6 days a week. She makes about $150 a month, well below what's considered a living wage.
I am not happy.
You're not happy.
In a statement, Loblaw says, we remain committed to transparency and accountability in our global supply chain to drive positive change and protect the rights and well-being of workers where our products are made.
I think the brands really need to stop their double standard. You know, I think they talk about commitment to workers' rights only as a PR strategy, you know, because they don't want their woke consumers to have to deal with the guilt of buying from sweatshops in Bangladesh.
Mark, it seems pretty clear that the fast fashion business model is playing a role here.
10 years ago, a T-shirt made by Joe Fresh in Bangladesh cost $8. We went into a store here the other day, it cost $8.94. So how could that be in the face of inflation? Well, that's the price squeeze that international brands are putting on factory owners. They then pass that squeeze on to the workers. They're the ones who are bearing the brunt. They're the ones who are feeling that squeeze to make the clothes we wear.
All right, Mark Kelly, thank you. You can watch Mark's full investigation Friday on the Fifth Estate. That's on CBC Television and CBC Gem at 9 p.m., 9:30 in Newfoundland, or stream it on the Fifth Estate's YouTube page starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. In another exclusive, CBC News has learned of more problems with Canada's long-troubled Cyclone helicopter fleet, a dangerous flaw that could see helicopter blades disintegrate mid-air. Marie Brewster is breaking the story for us tonight.
Pilots often say helicopters, unlike planes, have to be coaxed to fly. Temperamental machines, even small technical issues, can cause big problems. And CBC News has learned of a potentially catastrophic one after Canada's Air Force was warned of a defect with some of the main rotor blades on its Cyclone helicopters. We obtained this internal airworthiness risk assessment from June 2022 that warns of potential debonding, meaning the blades could fly off in mid-flight. It goes on to say, unless fixed, the risk level is A1, extremely high. Several months of inspections have so far uncovered at least 4 defective blades. 7 others are possibly faulty. None have failed in flight. As this industry video shows, testing the blades is a labor-intensive process that the Air Force is now required to do every 50 flight hours.
They should be concerned about this because with the more frequent inspections, it's possible that they'll be able to use the Cyclones less. They'll spend less time in the air and more time getting checked out.
Debonding happens when moisture gets baked into the blade during manufacturing. With time, weather, and under pressure, the blade peels apart from the inside. Defective blades on multiple kinds of helicopters have caused several fatal civilian crashes over the last 2 decades, including at least one in Canada.
I've not seen this, by the way.
CBC News showed the internal report to Defence Minister Bill Blair. He says the Air Force remains committed to the Cyclone.
I rely on the advice we receive from D&D and from CAF, the people that operate them and also those who are responsible for their maintenance and procurement.
Sikorsky, the U.S. manufacturer, has begun replacing the defective blades. But this is just the latest concern about the Cyclones, a program where the overall cost has ballooned from roughly $9 billion to $15.9 billion. Marie Brewster, CBC News, Ottawa.
The federal government now says it's delaying an expansion to medical assistance in dying until at least 2027. Proposed changes to the rules would expand eligibility to those suffering solely from mental illness. Earlier this week, the federal government said it agreed with a report that said the healthcare system wasn't ready for the move. Today, it tabled legislation to press pause. The change was supposed to begin in March and had already been delayed by a year. British Columbia's provincial health officer is calling for an expansion of the province's safer supply drug program. Bonnie Henry is making that recommendation after a year-long review, but as Lindsay Duncombe tells us, while it saves lives, the program also comes with some unintended risks.
3 times a day, Claudia West goes to a clinic for prescribed heroin.
It's been helping me keep clean from street drugs for it's over 2 years now.
That's how BC's Safe Supply program is supposed to work. Replace deadly toxic drugs with a prescription, save lives. That's happening, says the province's health officer, but a review of the program highlights some unintended consequences.
Where we have concerns, of course, is when diversion happens to people who are not using opioids.
They say part of the problem, the opioid pills frequently prescribed aren't strong enough for people dependent on powerful fentanyl, so some users sell them to buy stronger drugs.
I sold them all the time. When my appointment would come up the day before, I would hold on to one Dilaudid and swallow it so it would show up on my urine.
The review was sparked in part over concern that the prescribed drugs were then being sold to young people.
The rate of diagnoses of opioid use disorders among youth are not increasing.
The review recommends prescribers have access to more potent drugs, but stops short of calling for those drugs to be available without a prescription.
We're not going to get there through a medical model. We're not going to get there through prescriptions. And so I'm disappointed to see that this report doesn't really address that and doesn't really push the ball forward.
But at the same Political opponents say the government should shift focus.
Adopt recovery-oriented programming. So not only prescribed pharmaceutical alternatives, but actually making sure that there is a requirement to have a plan to help people move to the next step.
Evaluating the impact of safe supply on BC's overall drug crisis is tough because it only represents a fraction of the people suffering. There are about 4,300 people who received prescribed opioids in a province where more than 100,000 have been diagnosed with opioid use disorder. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
The latest streaming giant is telling its subscribers to pay more or watch commercials.
Everyone has a choice.
But will avoiding ads be one of them?
It's getting so expensive already.
A new movie puts a spotlight on a rare disorder.
Now then, what's the date of your last period?
I haven't gotten it yet.
The director tells us why it's personal. And the curious case of a little boy stuck in a toy machine.
He loved every moment of it.
We're back in 2. Some shocking news for Formula One fans. After 11 years with Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton is walking away from the team. The 39-year-old has agreed to a new deal with Ferrari that will start in 2025. Hamilton has already won 7 championships and is regarded as one of the best F1 drivers of all time. So next week, it will cost you a little more to watch Amazon Prime Video uninterrupted. It's the latest streaming service to add commercials. Anis Haidari now on why cheap, ad-free streaming may be a thing of the past.
Amazon Prime Video won't be commercial-free much longer unless you pay more.
If I'm still paying and they're putting ads, then for me that's absolute no-go. If I'm paying money, I don't see any ads at all.
I hate having to be forced to pay to not have advertisement in my face. There's so many subscriptions. It's getting so expensive already.
It'll cost $3 more a month to avoid ads. If customers don't pay up, ads begin on Monday. Experts predict either way, it will be lucrative for Amazon.
You look at the majority of their business, which is really the e-commerce business, a grocery business, a retail business. The margins on that business are 2%. The margins on advertising for Amazon is upwards of 50%.
Netflix made similar moves over the past year. Higher prices for ad-free content. And at Bell Media's Crave, price hikes to keep commercials away.
People don't like ads, but people really don't like bad, irrelevant advertising.
But this ad exec says customers won't mind if commercials are targeted.
And if you give people the right ad at the right time, it's actually a really good trade-off for folks. Another example is the Super Bowl. Nobody likes ads, but everybody watches a Super Bowl ad.
If consumers want to keep their streaming ad-free, they may have to turn off the TV and cancel.
Because this is a kind of new thing, these companies are going to be watching the metrics very closely. And so this is now's the time, if you want to try to make a difference, vote with your dollars.
So far, those votes have led to more commercials, at least at Amazon's competitors. YouTube gained more than $1 billion in ad revenue in just 1 year. And at Netflix, 40% of new signups have also said yes to ads. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
A new Canadian film hitting theaters tomorrow hopes to shed new light on a painful medical condition. It's about a 16-year-old girl who suddenly learns she was born without much of her reproductive organs. As Magda Gebrselassie shows us, for the filmmaker behind it, the story is deeply personal.
Now then, what's the date of your last period?
I haven't gotten it yet.
Labeled a traumedy by its director, the film Fitting In centers around a 16-year-old's shocking discovery about her body.
Lindy appears to have MRKH syndrome.
What is that? Mayer Rokitansky-Kusterhauser syndrome affects the female reproductive system. Lindy learns she was born without a uterus, a cervix, and much of a vaginal canal. Canadian director Molly McGlynn decided to shed light on the syndrome that changed her life.
Affected my sense of self in terms of how I viewed myself as a woman, what having sex like for the first time would be, really just is a nuclear bomb.
I'm pissed and sad I can't have a kid.
At the beginning, they're just quite shocked. This doctor has seen the wave of emotions that come in real life too. She diagnoses MRKH syndrome once or twice a year.
The condition occurs in about 1 in 4,500 to 1 in 5,000 patients who are assigned female at birth.
She says patients can still have biological children with the help of medical interventions. Still, MRKH remains a medical mystery for many people.
I was not familiar with this.
Never heard
of it
before.
Yeah, until Molly shared her story with us.
The film stars believe the movie will move audiences and specifically the MRKH community.
I think the impact of visibility with anything that feels taboo or like not spoken about enough can be a miracle for people.
And I think so many others will see themselves in this film.
Ashley Clark has seen the movie twice, and while it took an emotional toll, she says,
it was also just really, really cool to see that and to see yourself in a character on a big screen really representing something that isn't really shared to the public very often.
She and others are hopeful that MRKH is now out of the shadows and in the spotlight to stay. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
A growing number of children in Gaza are undergoing painful amputations.
I had many patients, most of them children.
How children are paying a price for deteriorating care. But first, Rosie's here with that issue. Hey, Rosie.
Hey, Adrienne, tonight we are going to talk more about Alberta's new gender policies for young people.
We want to make sure that children do not prematurely make decisions that are going to be irreversible.
What are the politics driving these issues, and why are so many Conservative premiers picking up on them? Chantal, Althea, and Andrew join me to talk about that and more.
Those are some of the hundreds of farmers who've converged on the European Parliament building in Brussels, clashing with police during protests over their compensation. Some started fires and threw objects at officers. They were met with water cannons and tear gas from riot police. Protests by farmers have been escalating for days in parts of Europe, sparked by demands for more pay, lower taxes, and restrictions to imports. In the United Kingdom, Metropolitan Police are searching for a 35-year-old man suspected of throwing a corrosive chemical substance on a mother and her 2 young children last night in South London.
We take violence against women and girls very seriously in the Met Police, and we have got a significant asset looking for this male.
The woman and one of the children have injuries that could be life-changing. Police say 9 other people were treated for minor injuries after they tried to help, including 5 officers. A local politician said the victims were in a car when they were assaulted. UNICEF is now describing Gaza as the most dangerous place in the world to be a child. Beyond the risk of death comes that of life-altering injury. Caroline Bargut now on the devastating toll on the kids trapped in the war zone.
Before the war, Mustafa Shehda used to run around with his friends. Now the 12-year-old spends his days trying to sell boxes of juice on the side of the road. I sit in the sun just so I can try and get something for us to eat, he says. Mustafa lost his leg early on in the war when a building he was in was bombed. His uncle was killed. Mustafa now lives in the south with his extended family in a makeshift camp. His parents are still trapped in the north. No one looks at me, he says. I want someone to come and take me out of here. UNICEF estimates at least 1,000 children have had 1 or 2 of their legs amputated through to the end of November, but it doesn't have updated numbers.
I had many patients, most of them children. Even I had babies.
Surgeon Aldo Rodriguez spent 5 weeks in Gaza with Doctors Without Borders. He was shocked at how many amputations he had to perform on children, even toddlers.
I didn't understand why a patient had 1 year, 2 years baby had to suffer an amputation.
Palestinian doctor Ismail Al-Hams says because of the lack of resources, they were forced to sacrifice limbs in order to save lives. We have to be able to care for every patient that comes to us, not at the level we would like, but at the level we must accept, he says. That level includes performing some amputations without anesthesia or pain medicine for recovery.
The degree of pain unmanaged post-operatively would be absolutely unimaginable.
Canadian orthopedic surgeon Dr. Deirdre Noonan has previously worked with amputees in Gaza. She says children can have a normal life, but only if a number of conditions are met.
It's not only surgery, it's not only a prosthesis, it's not only medical care, it's the whole 360-degree picture that would need to be in place for Palestinian people who have sustained an amputation.
Even before the war, she says there was a long wait for prosthetics because of Israel's blockade on Gaza, which restricts the importation of some medical devices and supplies. When Mustafa grows up, he says he wants to be able to walk like other kids and hopes he'll be able to get a prosthetic leg to help him do that. Caroline Bargood, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Now let's break down the news shaping our world. Rosie's here with that issue.
At issue this week, Alberta's sweeping changes to gender policies for young people. The province plans to limit access to health care for transgender minors. Students will also need parental approval to change their name or pronoun at school.
I would say that we're supporting kids in their right to make decisions about their own journey.
The move is being met with opposition in Alberta.
Danielle Smith is playing dangerous politics with the lives of young people.
And Ottawa.
Is not becoming of her office and is in fact actually targeting and perhaps even demonizing those children.
So what's to be made of these changes? Why are so many Conservative premiers tapping into this issue? Hi there, I'm Rosemary Barton. Let's bring in our At Issue panelists tonight, Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, and Althea Raj. Good to see you all. Althea, I'm going to start with you if I can. We've seen policies like this, although this is the one that has gone the furthest in New Brunswick and Saskatchewan. Why do you think this one in particular has drawn, I think, an even stronger response from the federal Liberals?
Well, it's more wide sweeping. I just want to say very clearly off the bat that some of the stuff that she said is actually that I think a lot of viewers will probably think sounds reasonable to them is actually common practice, healthcare best practices, which is all this gender reassignment surgery. You can only get that if you are an adult. So that is like a moot point. Her press conference was all about that. That is already basically what is happening. The reason she's doing it is because it gets people like us to talk about it. It plays to people that she is courting. A lot of people are watching Fox News and reading right-wing news outlets who are obsessed with this topic. The other thing is it's a great distraction. If you read Alberta news, you will know that there is a huge crisis in emergency hospital rooms. While we're talking about this, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about the fact that in Calgary, rents have increased more than anywhere else across the country year over year. We're not talking about the opioid crisis. We're not talking about homelessness. We're not talking about all sorts of issues that are actually what the government should be focused on. Instead, we're having what she wants to have is a culture war. And the other thing is, Liberals and progressives tend to overreact on this issue in the way that I don't think they explain what they're trying to accomplish well, and then they sound like they're offside with the majority of public opinion. So it's like a perfect storm, a perfect wedge issue, a perfect distraction.
I will say on the issue of minors getting surgeries, the Premier did say that there were, I think, just over 100 surgeries done on trans people in Alberta last year, and of that, the people between 18 to 25, there were a quarter of them. So 25 people had that done. But there were no minors, to Althea's point. That is not something that happens. Chantal.
So that's the point, right? So we are being presented, Albertans are at least, with legislation and numbers that show that it's addressing what is a non-issue. Someone 18, whether you like it or not, is an adult. And it's also not, I mean, the impression you get is there's an industry out there. It's waiting to prey on young kids. And these kinds of legislation seem to be based on the premise that every parent is better advised, more open, more likely to communicate with their kids than anybody else, including teachers and others, as if kids are always allowed to have those discussions in an open and respectful way with their parents. I think Conservative premiers who have been using this believe that it's a wedge issue that will pay off at election time. I think that those who are still careful about using it are waiting to see what will happen in New Brunswick and Saskatchewan, two provinces that will be going to the polls and that have been pushing this issue big time.
It is framed as an issue in all of those provinces as an issue of parental rights. Andrew, why do you think that politicians choose to frame it that way?
Because that's a very hot issue. I think this goes far beyond anything to do with transgender issues per se. I think it feeds much more into a narrative of there is a caste of public servants, teachers, academics, et cetera, who are looking down their noses at you, who don't trust parents to make good choices, who think they're more educated, more smart, et cetera. And frankly, there's an element of truth in that, but it certainly plays well to that particular section of the conservative base. I think there's a mutual interest for both the populist or social conservative right and the liberals or liberal left to wind up this issue because it appeals to both of their bases. And you could certainly see the liberals jumping in with 2 feet on this because why? I'm sure partly because they sincerely believe it, but also because they can tie Danielle Smith and this sort of activity to Pierre Poilievre. Danielle Smith, of course, who fresh from having met with and basically endorsed Tucker Carlson, including homophobic jokes that he made. So anything they can do to tie that back to Pierre Poilievre will be, at least to the Liberals' perceived advantage. And you noticeably saw him not commenting on this and not letting anybody else in his caucus, I don't think, comment on it. So I think those are the, Danielle Smith's got a very a rabid base that she's got to pay attention to and has to, throw some raw meat to every now and then. Pierre Poilievre is got a more varied base, not quite as homogeneous as you might face in the Alberta Conservative Party. And secondly, he's got to be concerned much more now about reaching out to centrist voters, and so this issue is not played to his advantage. Except, I suppose, that by not commenting, he can pose as kind of the moderate middle between the Liberals and the Alberta Conservatives.
Yeah, he didn't comment today. He has previously, though, said that Justin Trudeau has, quote, a radical gender ideology. So he's used some of these kinds of phrases and words in the past, although he didn't.
He doesn't tend to put it in the front window. He does it when he wants to he wants to nod to the base, but it's not his primary message.
Yeah, Chantal, and then Althea.
But that's twice in almost as many weeks that the Conservative caucus in Ottawa, via a recommendation, I'm being polite, from the leader's office, is trying to not see what's happening in Alberta. The same scenario was in play with the Tucker Carlson evening, where you had zero comments. Now this, it is obvious that to the Conservatives in Ottawa, Conservative premiers, but in particular a premier like Danielle Smith, are a threat to their capacity to attract voters outside of their tent. I also suspect that there are members in the Conservative caucus federally who believe that this kind of approach to LGBTQ rights is wrong.
Althea.
Yeah, I agree with what Chantal said. The thing with the federal Conservative caucus is it's quite a big tent, and there are people who will be as outraged as Marcy Ian, for example, the Liberal cabinet minister who came out and very heavily criticized this, as they are people who would frankly champion what Danielle Smith has announced. So it is, for caucus management, it's wise of him. I also do think he's kind of doing the not sure where the wind is blowing on this issue yet, so let me wait and see how it settles before declaring what my position is. What she announced today are really three, or what she announced last night on social media, are really three pillars. And I don't want to make it sound like they're not concerning, especially I find the one about children at school. It is quite hypocritical for a party who wrap themselves around this freedom ideology and my body, my choice, and I'm against vaccines and the government should not be forced to tell me to take a vaccine to protect the most vulnerable in society, because that was really the message at the time. Now dictating to parents and children what their healthcare choices should be, and really kind of hurting, not really, but actually hurting young people in their self-confidence and their own development. It is quite something to have the state tell you, what they're going to do about the pronouns that you choose to use at school or whatever you choose to call yourself. It's really the big hand of government, and how to ideologically square that together, I find really interesting.
I'm glad you raised that. I've had some of the same questions today, how that fits into the conservative ideology. Quickly, Chantal, and quickly, Andrew, and then I got to
And how about government-approved sex ed education? Do you really want that? For a cabinet to have a say in what information is being given in sex ed classes? I don't see how they're more qualified than teachers to handle these kinds of topics.
Last word to you, Andrew.
Just two things on Poilievre. One is, whenever he's talking about affordability, prices, housing, et cetera, he's winning. If he's talking about any other issue, I don't think that's a good one for him. And I think the nature of this issue is, even if people might agree, more agree with the Conservatives on the merits of the issues, I just think the ambiance around this whole issue plays into people's misgivings and fears about Conservatives generally. It's one he really needs to stay away from.
Okay. We'll leave this part there. Thank you very much. Still ahead, though, the Liberals are considering ways to rebrand the carbon tax.
And certainly thinking about how can we communicate better.
Would rebranding the federal carbon tax help the Liberal government? That's next. The Liberal government is looking at ways to rebrand the carbon tax, or at least better explain it.
We are trying to make sure that people understand how it works in Canada. And right now, there's more work to be done.
It comes as the Conservatives continue to hammer the government on issues around affordability, including the tax, with promises to get rid of it altogether. So is the carbon tax a problem of bad marketing, or is the policy itself part of the problem, or both? It could be both. Let's bring back at issue Chantal, Andrew, and Althea. Andrew, why don't you start us off on this one? I have talked to many a cabinet minister who has said very openly in front of TV cameras, we don't explain it well enough, people don't understand it, and we're however many years, 8 years in now to this thing. Is the idea that they could rebrand it now even possible?
Well, I don't think it's entirely without merit. They have not explained it well. The marketing has been bad. They have left things to people's understanding that people don't, or have busy lives and aren't paying close attention. It's not necessarily they're going to pick up all of those nuances. Yeah. But I actually think the problem is more in A, the marketer, and B, the market.
Yes.
So the marketer, meaning the Liberals themselves have undercut themselves terribly, particularly, of course, by making that exception for heating oil in Atlantic Canada, that essentially conceded that affordability was a concern when, in fact, the rebates cover, more than cover the cost of it for most people. And more broadly, that they, only 1/3 of their planned and future emission cuts are to be done by the carbon price. So they didn't really believe in the carbon price enough to make it the actual, as opposed to theoretical showpiece of their approach. They use all kinds of other approaches that basically signal carbon. They don't really believe in carbon pricing. But I think the really most fundamental thing is the market itself has changed. The public, I think, was much more receptive to things like carbon pricing and frankly, getting serious about climate change when everything was ticking over very nicely for the economy. The minute it became housing and prices and inflation as being the #1 issue, people didn't seem to be quite as interested in saving the planet.
Chantal?
It's amazing that the places where this carbon tax issue resonates are the places where people are getting rebates. Yeah. And the two provinces where people are getting no rebates, BC and Quebec. It's not even a wedge issue provincially between the parties.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
If you have not managed to drive home the fact that this check that I've never seen, but that apparently you're getting, is to make up for the carbon tax thing, you really are poor communicators. But looking at this, it's now become, it's a bit late for rebranding. It's now become the equivalent of the GST to Brian Mulroney stories, in the sense that they could forever explain that it was replacing a manufacturer's tax, that in the end it was better and more transparent, that poorer people, lower income people were getting a rebate and a check. It never worked. And we still have the GST, by the way, despite the fact that someone spent a campaign saying axe the GST.
They sure did. It is called climate incentive at my bank, but it's not the same name at everybody's. So you could never really even know that you got the rebate. Like you might, obviously if you needed the money, you would know, but there's no one saying to you, oh, by the way, we sent it to you. And that does seem to be a problem in my mind, Althea, if you want to take credit for something and there's no way to do that.
I think CRA at the outset did advertise, Canada Revenue Agency did advertise that it existed, but they have stopped advertising. And it is true that most people who do receive it, well, actually Abacus had some data on this a while back that said 2/3 of people are aware of it, but half don't actually know what it's for. I would say there's two things. One, I think better late than never. I don't understand why it's called Climate Action Incentive Payment. We were tossing around names in the office, like why not just carbon rebate or something clearer? The other thing is the policy works because people feel a squeeze on the front end. So it was always going to be a hard sell to people that you're getting more money back, but you have to feel the squeeze in order to make different choices. That's how it works. So it was always going to be a hard sell. But I do think the Liberals' decision to not do government funding like Stephen Harper's government did, we all remember the big billboards across the country. Sometimes billboards cost more than what the actual program was, like changing a light bulb. But instead of going, okay, we're going to reduce and we're going to be more diligent and we're going to take away the party colors, they went, we're just going to stop doing this. And this is a government program. No, like there's very, very few federal government advertising. The spend has dropped, and it's so bad that we all know that there's no Liberal affiliated ad agency doing these ads.
I hope the remedy, though, is not, okay, let's now open the floodgates and spend a lot of money on
No, but there's not two binary choices, right? Like you could advertise
but to hear Liberals
so
talk,
people know what it is.
To hear Liberals talk these days, that's what they really need to do, is spend a lot of money on what is effectively partisan advertising. There's no issue here about people needing to hear about the thing to actually get the money. The only issue is whether the Liberals get the credit.
No, but they could have done that originally, like at the outset, to explain people what the program was.
We also don't want to go back to big checks. Remember, we had a decade of big, large checks as well. And I don't mean quantity; I mean the actual size.
Around, as long as people know what a check is.
It also doesn't help that for a number of years, the Liberals' motto was never say the words carbon tax. Or taxing pollution. Well, if you're going to have a debate over what that is, and it is a carbon tax, then you should address it head on, not say, I so fear this word that I'd rather never use it, which drove them where they are today.
Which is what they did in BC, of course. BC, it was absolutely clear what they were doing. It was, we're bringing in a carbon tax and we're cutting income tax rates with the revenues from the carbon tax. So it was very clear, it was very open, and they were rewarded politically for it.
And I also always wonder when governments are blaming communications around an issue, whether that is not a sign that maybe the issue is more problematic than just how they're marketing something. But that's just...
Well, and I don't think it's coincidental also that the chief salesman is in bad odor.
Yes. All right, well, we will leave it there. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. I'll see you back here next week. And with that, I will send things back to Adrienne. She is in Toronto.
Thank you, Rosie. Next, a toddler gets stuck in a tricky situation.
I saw him put his head in to look, but I honestly didn't think he would be able to get inside.
How many coins to get him out? We'll tell you in our moment. Well, would you look at that little guy? 3-year-old Ethan in Australia trapped inside a claw machine. You can tell by his face he knows he's in trouble. So how on earth did he get in there? To his parents' surprise, apparently very quickly. The scramble to get him out is our moment.
I was paying for the groceries and my partner was over with our 3 boys. And I look over and Ethan's just standing next to the machine. I look back over to talk to the lady. I look back over and he's inside the machine. I saw him put his head in to look, but I honestly didn't think he would be able to get inside. That lap thing is supposed to stop things from being able to be stolen, but I didn't think he was able to get in. You did it, yes.
Ethan, go to that back corner.
I was definitely scared.
No, to that corner over there.
I was more embarrassed at first because it was only he could have done this. Do you know what I mean? And he loved every moment of it. He started throwing teddies down the chute going, free toys, free toys. Everyone was staring at him and he loves the police. They got Ethan to cover his eyes.
Ethan, cover your eyes, hide.
And then they broke the machine and then they grabbed him out. Yesterday, he walked past the same machine and he said, "I won't do it again, Daddy. I won't do it again."
You want a prize. Which one do you want?
So this went wild in Australia. One news program called it an episode of Claw and Order. Apparently, he didn't take a teddy home with him because his parents really don't want to encourage this, but about a week later, the cops came back with a stuffed koala. So there you go. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.